Oh yeah, we only talk about real movies on this channel. So I was a kid in the 2000s in the UK, meaning I watched a lot of the early CBBC shows like Young Dracula, Arthur, Horrible Histories, Trapped, Am I High, The Sarah Jane Adventures, and of course, The Story of Tracy Beaker. So for those who don't know, which I have no idea why you're watching if you don't, but The Story of Tracy Beaker, or as it's most commonly known, Tracy Beaker, was, well, the story of Tracy Beaker, a child in a care home known by the kids as the dumping ground. It was such a formative show for not only me, but an entire generation of kids in England. I mean, if you didn't get told off for copying Tracy Beaker or banned from watching her because she was making you act like a knobhead as a kid, I can't truly say you experienced life as a child back then. Because Tracy was real, she was rude, loud, told people to bog off.
Bog off, Elaine! Bog off! Oh, bog off!
Tracy, can I have a word?
Have two.
Bog off!
And anytime she cried, it was just hay fever.
I'm not crying, it's my hay fever.
What's the matter?
Just hay fever.
Doesn't matter what may come our way. Believe me now, I'll win someday.
It was an iconic show, so iconic in fact that Tracy Beaker took on its own life. We watched her grow up all the way into adulthood when sequel shows came out like Tracy Beaker Returns, The Dumping Ground, and eventually My Mum Tracy Beaker and The Beaker Girls. All very successful shows in their own right, and Dani Harmer, the actress behind Tracy Beaker, is such a CBBC and BBC and UK icon. Not only did she have those shows, but Dani's House, Dani's Castle, and she's gone on to be a fixture in the pantomime and theatre community. She even runs a performing arts academy now. She's a true icon. She was on Strictly. But before season 4 of the original show aired, we had a TV movie entitled Tracy Beaker, the Movie of Me. Now this was a big deal because no CBBC show got movies back then, not even TV movies. This was truly a big thing, the Hannah Montana of the UK if you will. And recently I've been getting a wave of nostalgia for this show. I've revisited a few episodes and I figured since I have a movie channel I should talk about the movie. The basic premise of Tracy Beaker's life is that her mom was a very absent mother, often leaving her at home for extended periods of time when she was a very young child. She had an abusive boyfriend who abused Tracy and thus she was taken away and put into care. Which looking back is a very dark subject matter for a kids show, but Tracy often lies about her mother, claiming she's a movie star and she's going to come back and whisk her away one day. But she's clearly just trying to cope with her abandonment, which also causes her to act out in the way that she does. However, the premise of the movie is that all of these apparent lies were actually kind of true in a way, just Tracy didn't really know it. Her mom is now actually a Hollywood actress and comes back into Tracy's life to find some connection with her, but Tracy starts to find out her mom isn't as ideal as she had hoped. And because I don't have the time nor the effort to recap the entire Tracy Beaker show, that's all you're gonna get. But I'm assuming most people watching this video have already seen the show anyway, so who cares. So the movie opens up on a birthday party and we get a classic Tracy Beaker scenario. 3 days before her birthday, she's ordered 2 bouncy castles. She has organised band auditions and all of this other crazy stuff without any of the carers' permissions. It's all filmed exactly like the TV show though, so though it is a movie, so far it doesn't really have any kind of cinematic appeal. It's more just like an extended episode of the show, but regardless, we get a scene of her clashing with the staff, we get a scene of Justine Littlewood, who's her rival in the show, being a dick, and overall it's a perfect introduction to Tracy's world. Everything we need to know about her and her life is tightly squeezed into the opening minutes, and I honestly think that's quite impressive. We also get some of those clunky animations that's based on Jacqueline Wilson's original book and Nick Sherratt's artwork. They're kind of awful but also very charming, I can't quite explain it. We also then get introduced to Cam, a permanent fixture across all Beaker media. She's Tracy's occasional foster parent who can never decide on whether she actually wants to foster and adopt Tracy full time. Which is obviously quite an awful situation for Tracy because she loves Cam but also has quite severe abandonment issues, so this uncertainty must be wreaking havoc on Tracy's mental well-being. Despite the mean this movie is, I actually think it's a narratively interesting direction to take the movie, to emphasize that the entire show's life has been about the question of whether Cam will actually commit to being Tracy's guardian or not. And we introduce that conflict by her finally saying yes, but then bringing in her original guardian later on to further put tension on that question. Has Cam left it too long? And also, would it have mattered either way? It's all interesting because Tracy's mom has always been this idealized figure in Tracy's head. How can you compete with perfect? And thus Cam suffers for her sin of indecision. So yeah, during Tracy's actual birthday party, Justine answers the door and comes to tell Tracy that someone is at the door for her. And I think the look on her face is actually quite important because Justine and Tracy are always at each other's throat. It's a major theme of the show, but in this moment, Justine is no longer Tracy's antagonist. She's just another kid at the dumping ground understanding the situation, because the person at the door is Tracy's mother, this almost mythical figure in the dumping ground canon, someone always spoken of but never seen, and for any kid in care to get a visit from their parent is a big moment, but for Tracy, it's life-altering. And I love how they show Tracy's mom with this shining light behind her like she's an angel sent down from heaven, further pushing this mythological idea, but then almost instantly Tracy chucks a drink at her, in one moment completely destroying that image Tracy has built for years. Because instinct takes over, because she's no longer this idea, she's a real person standing in front of her, and the responsibility of all of Tracy's trauma and ideas and abandonment issues finally have a tangible manifestation. Also, I'd like to point out that her mom is played by Ruth Gemmell, who you may know from a slew of things, but most importantly Bridgerton. But yeah, as soon as she actually meets her mother and she tells Tracy she's auditioning for a part in a movie, this idealized version of her starts to grow back. And sadly, Tracy starts to believe in the myth again. Tracy's mom also feeds into Tracy's rebellious side, asking her to go to London with her without telling the staff, which is legally kidnapping, by the way. But what starts to happen is that you see that Carly, Tracy's mom, is the complete opposite of Cam and Tracy herself. She's very feminine, loves makeup, clothes, perfume, all the things that Tracy really doesn't. And Carly slowly tries to mold Tracy into her mini-me by taking her shopping for these things, putting lip gloss on her, telling her to put her hair up and all of this other stuff that just isn't really Tracy. Now there's someone I actually wanted to give a moment. Elaine Boyack, also known as Elaine the Pain, a character most kids hated because Tracy hated her. She's a social worker after all, but part of growing up is realizing she was just trying her best and is actually quite a nice person with Tracy's best interests at heart, and I just thought it was important to give her a moment. Anyway, Tracy at one point opens up to her mom about how painful it was to grow up in care, and Carly starts to cry and put it back on Tracy, saying that it was hard to leave her there, saying that she couldn't cope and she tried her best. Tracy doesn't know how hard it was to look after someone day and night while other people were out having fun. She needed a life for herself, and that doesn't make her a bad mother. And it all just stinks of victim blaming and classic emotional manipulation. It's again a very interesting narrative idea for a kids movie and is executed surprisingly well, turning Tracy's abandonment around and made it less about lack of responsibility and accountability and more about the pressures she was facing that someone like Tracy just couldn't understand. It's gross and serves to make Tracy forgive her mom easily for all the wrong, and it's a brave choice for the film to make because we as the audience want Tracy to have her happy ending and want this myth fulfilled, but we understand that her mother is just no good. It's heartbreaking to watch. There's also these little moments like when Tracy is excited that her mom could be famous and Carly responds,
Rich and famous.
telling us where her priorities are. She's a very self-interested person with greed at the root of her actions, and then afterwards abandons Tracy to go off with her boyfriend whilst letting Tracy, a 13-year-old, get a taxi and a bus in the middle of the night from London to home all by herself. She has not grown at all since her neglectful days that left Tracy in care in the first place. She's selfish and a bad mother. Anyway, her mom comes back the next day, tries to take her away again, but obviously social services are more prepared to interfere this time, and Carly uses it to further mentally manipulate Tracy by saying that Cam and the carers are trying to keep them apart again, like it was always their fault to begin with. So obviously Tracy runs away. Hayley says,
Life's a bitch.
which is an insane thing to put in a kids TV movie. You know, she's like 8 years old, by the way, and Tracy goes to find her mom's friend, who subtly tells her to give up, hinting that as a character witness, even her friend knows that Carly isn't suited to be Tracy's mother. There's some cute moments like Hayley being handcuffed to the copper and forcing him to colour in with her. Tracy sits next to this mom on the train who tells her that being a mom is hard, but it's worth it in the end. Not being that subtle, but it's nice the film is making a concerted effort to teach Tracy and the audience about the struggles of motherhood, but also the morality that comes with it. Tracy goes on this massive journey whilst all the dumping ground kids cover for her like a real family would, and Crash eventually finds her at a train station, bringing her food, comfort and help. They get to the set where Tracy's mom is, and everyone back home discovers where she is and starts their journey towards her too. They find her mom on set, and we find out that her mom isn't the star but the stunt double, which lets us in on a few things. One, her mom is just a liar and says what she wants to achieve the results she wants. This idealized version of her that Tracy has always built her up to be is in fact false, and also she leaves her alone in the motel all night on her birthday because she hasn't grown. This pink car shows up to take Tracy away for her birthday surprise, but Tracy finds out it was orchestrated by Cam and not Carly because her mom completely forgot it was even her birthday, which leads Tracy to finally understanding her mom is hopeless. We get a happy ending of Cam agreeing to still foster Tracy and Tracy acknowledging that's what she wants. We then get a full rendition of the theme song sung by Keisha White, which is an absolute banger, by the way.
I know my destiny, 'cause in my dreams I see there'll be a better place staring right in front of me.
And we get a little cute scene during the credits where the officer comes back to the care home with his wife to foster Hayley, which is a very sweet ending. The film overall is not a long film, it is just over an hour and definitely feels like a TV special more than anything, but I do think it works very well, and despite being a TV movie for a kids TV show, it is handled quite well and maturely. There's a weird amount of great writing and ideas that I didn't expect to find on a rewatch of this in my adulthood, now that I'm a more hardened person and film critic. There's a ton of stupidness, of course. A lot of it doesn't make sense. The cops suck at their jobs and there is just this great lack of grounded reality, but I also think if we're going into this looking for that, it's completely on you if you don't find it. I think the legacy of this story and this character is really something that should be recognized more, and is something that will always be important to me on a personal level. It's even one of the things that me and my fiance really share from our childhood. We grew up worlds apart. She lived in a much nicer area than I did, with a much nicer family than I did, and it's still one of those things that brought us together. It's a show and a movie that still exists very much in our hearts and in the hearts of many people from our generation. But that's just me. What do you think? Have you seen Tracy Beaker or this movie? If so, what did you think? If not, will you? And whether it's one made for TV based in the world of a kids TV show or not, as always, keep watching movies.